Volvo have scrapped their plans to becoming an all-electric car company by 2030. So although they'll still be producing PHEVs, they'll still be introducing all new electric vehicles like this EX30, the smallest EV that they've produced to date. So how good is this new car? Well, let's go for a drive and find out. This new Volvo EX30 sits on a completely new platform, and it is a dedicated EV platform. This platform is also shared with a few other EVs, namely Chinese-made EVs. So yes, some Volvo EX30s are made in China, but for 2025, apparently Volvo is switching production into Belgium so that it avoids the massive tariffs that are now being imposed on Chinese-made EVs, both in the United States and also here in Canada. And this particular Volvo EX30, the one that I'm driving right now, has a VIN that starts with Y. So I believe that's Belgium, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, this platform carries a 69 kilowatt hour battery pack. That's nominal power. The usable power is apparently 64 kilowatt hours. And this single motor version of the Volvo EX30 is rated for up to 420 kilometers. But the rated driving range and the real life driving range are different. So every time that I plugged this car in and charged it up to 100%, the estimated range was only 340 kilometers. That's the most I ever saw. And it quickly drops. Right now, the car is at 69% battery and it's estimating only 215 kilometers of range. Now, I will give this car the benefit of the doubt because it is cold outside. Temperatures have been hovering at around 7 to 10 degrees Celsius. I've been using climate control the entire time, and I do live in a part of the world where we have a lot of uphills and downhills. And even though it's estimating only 340 kilometers, I think that's perfectly fine for a city car like this. You can go to and from work for a couple of days without needing to charge it, and then in the evening, plug it into your home charger, and overnight it'll be back to 100%. Recharging the battery from 10% to 80% at one of the fastest level 3 chargers will take around 28 minutes. The EX30 can charge at a maximum rate of 153 kilowatts. From a common 7.4 kilowatt level 2 charger, 0% to 100% takes around 9 hours. Power-wise, like I said, this one is a single motor version, which powers only the back wheels, and it produces 268 horsepower and 253 pound-feet of torque. Now this EX30 weighs over 1.8 tons, but because it's electric, power is instant, so it doesn't feel that slow. However, if you really must have the dual motor option, then you'll be getting over 400 horsepower, and that one's a little bit quicker. In fact, it's supposedly the quickest Volvo to date. Driving-wise, this Volvo EX30 is not a driver's car. The steering is far too light and really numb feeling. Even if you set the steering firmness to its firmest setting, it still feels disconnected from the front wheels. Also, the brake pedal is quite spongy and has a lot of travel. Now I know that some of you are going to say, oh, we don't need sport brakes on our daily driver. And you're right, you don't need brakes that feel like on-off switches. But this week, I'm also driving the Toyota Tacoma Hybrid, and in that truck, the brake pedal feels firm, and yet it still is easy to modulate. With a brake pedal like that, it gives me confidence every time I put my foot on it. With the brake pedal in this Volvo, it doesn't really feel that confidence inspiring. As for regenerative braking, the Volvo EX30 does not have any adjustable modes. It's all controlled through the brake pedal. The EX30 does have a one pedal mode, but it's tuned differently from other EVs. It doesn't provide quite the same strength of regenerative braking. I found myself having to use the brake pedal quite often in this mode because it did not slow down the car enough. However, it did seem to be slightly stronger if the car detected another vehicle ahead of it, but at times it still required me to press on the brake pedal for more braking force. The ride of the 2025 Volvo EX30 is well balanced. For the most part, the suspension absorbs bumps without the car feeling overly bouncy. However, certain roads can make the car feel as though it has an overly firm ride quality. Cabin noise is kept at a minimum while on the move. This demo vehicle had snow tires equipped, which produced a little bit more noise on highways than normal all-season EV tires would. But even so, it wasn't too loud. The only noise that was noticeable in the cabin of the EX30 was the sound of other vehicles passing by it on highways. Now let's take a look at the interior of the Volvo EX30, and starting off with interior space, there is plenty of it up here in the front seats. For my 6'4" height, I have plenty of legroom and plenty of headroom, but keep in mind, I always like to have the driver's seat at its lowest point in all of my vehicle reviews. So that's why it appears I have so much headroom. But behind my driving position, it's a completely different story. Again, I am above average in height sitting behind my tall driving position, so I have no legroom in those back seats. Headroom is so-so, but again, for me at least, legroom is a major issue. Although, again, very tall individual. In the trunk, you'll have a little over 300 liters behind the rear seats, and if you fold them down, you'll get a little over 900 liters of cargo space. Under the trunk floor, you'll find a little bit of space for the charging cable and smaller items, and there's a neat little panel that shows you the dimensions of the cargo area, both with the rear seats up and also when they're folded down. That's a nice little touch. Underneath the hood, you'll find a small storage space for, again, more small items. Back to the front, Volvo has chosen to use a lot of recycled and environmentally friendly materials for the cabin. Problem is, a lot of these plastics, they don't really look that great. Sure, you won't be really touching most of them, but particularly the lower portions of the dashboard and the door panels, it looks like styrofoam, like the packaging type of styrofoam. Doesn't look that great. And speaking of not looking that great, this interior design. The first time that I sat in this car, I thought that I stepped into a Tesla because it looks almost identical. I don't have a digital driver display right in front of me, and everything is controlled by this tablet. In fact, the functionality of certain items has been copied from Tesla and other manufacturers and incorporated in this EX30. For example, the indicator stalk immediately returns to center after pressing it left or right, just like a Tesla. To enable pilot assist, it is a press down on the right steering wheel stalk, just like in a Tesla. To engage reverse, drive, or park, it's a press of the right steering wheel stalk, just like in a Tesla. The speedometer is now on the top left portion of the touchscreen, just like in a Tesla. Next to the speedometer is the layout of other vehicles that are detected by the EX30's cameras, just like a Tesla. The exterior mirrors can only be adjusted when selecting that option in the infotainment system and then using the buttons on the steering wheel to adjust them, just like in a Tesla. If you want to change the volume or the climate, it's done through the touchscreen, just like a Tesla. Granted, Volvo has had touchscreen integrated climate controls for a while now, but there's no more physical volume knob. Even the key fob has been changed and it does not have any buttons on it. It is detected by the car and the driver only has to engage drive or reverse to turn on the car. There's also a credit card type key fob available for the EX30. The problem I see with this is that if someone else needs to grab something from the car, you have to physically give them the key. You can no longer just point to the car and press unlock. There are more annoying changes to the EX30. Another example are the front windows. They have two dedicated switches on the center console. But in order to open the rear windows from the front, you first have to press the rear button and then use the same switches to open or close the rear windows, just like in a Volkswagen. Should you want to turn on the headlights in foggy conditions, it's multiple clicks on the infotainment screen and then you have to confirm the selection by pressing the OK button on the steering wheel. Yes, the EX30's headlights are automatically turned on or off depending on the ambient light, but they may not turn on in foggy conditions. And finally, the speaker that spans the dashboard does free up space on the door panels by not requiring speakers on them. But the Harman Kardon badge reflects daylight, even in cloudy days, onto the windshield right in the line of sight. For the most part, what I'm trying to say is that this interior no longer feels like a Volvo. It feels, like I said, very much like a Tesla. The 2025 Volvo EX30 starts at $53,700 Canadian. This ultra trim of the rear-wheel drive variant had an as-tested price of $59,100 Canadian. The dual motor option is only available on the Plus and Ultra trims and costs an additional $3,000 Canadian on top of the cost of moving up in the trim levels. In the United States, the single motor version is not yet available. The dual motor Plus starts at $44,900 US, and the dual motor Ultra will cost you $46,600 US. This is a well-equipped vehicle with textile upholstery, heated front seats and a heated steering wheel, dual-zone automatic climate control, the Harman Kardon sound system that I mentioned earlier, surround view cameras, a fixed panoramic roof, wireless phone charging pad, and the large 12.3-inch center display. One thing to note about that fixed glass roof, it is not dimmable and it does not have a shade. However, there is a shade available as an accessory. Also, as I mentioned earlier, this car comes equipped with pilot assist on this top spec Ultra trim. This is not a hands-free driving aid. You need to have at least one hand on the steering wheel and be paying attention to the road ahead. It incorporates the adaptive cruise control, lane centering, and lane change assist. For the latter, you can press on the indicator stalk and the car will change lanes automatically if there's enough space, but you still need to hold on to the steering wheel. The exterior styling of the 2025 Volvo EX30 is the complete opposite of the interior design. I think it looks stunning. It has an evolution of the Thor's Hammer LED daytime running lights, along with updated taillights that still follow the contours of the rear pillar and fenders. The optional 20-inch wheels look great on this car, and the frameless exterior mirrors look sharp. This is a head-turning design. In the end, the Volvo EX30 is a bit of a mixed bag. On one hand, it's a quick and quiet EV that looks amazing on the outside and has pretty decent range for city driving. On the other hand, that interior looks nothing like a Volvo. It's like as though they copied Tesla's homework and forgot to make it their own. It has a cold and dreary interior that doesn't feel like any other Volvo vehicle like the XC90 or even the EX40. So if I were in the market for a small electric car and I did like that interior, I'd go for a Tesla Model 3. But otherwise, I'd be more than happy to pay the extra money and get the EX40 or the EC40. This one just doesn't feel like a Volvo. In the meantime, if you would like to know more about this 2025 Volvo EX30, I have a more detailed written review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up there. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck, or most likely it'll be an SUV next time. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you in the next one.